So for that first Sunday of Lent, I was connecting, the story in the garden. They get themselves in trouble, and connecting that to the temptations of Christ by the devil, and connecting them to these energy centers that are in our lives: power and control, affection, esteem, and security. These are real needs that we really have, but they get exaggerated in us. It's what the devil often uses to tempt at us. And that's the point I was pointing to last week, but I hadn't really realized how easily they fall right into this story too, right? That, as Peter says it, Lord, it's good that we're here. This is security. They've experienced this amazing event, and it's sure, and it's certain, and it's really good that we're here. And from an affection esteem point, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? We're here. We got to see this. Our proximity to glory. We just saw Moses and Elijah. If you were going to build a hall of fame of Jewish figures, these two would be right in the top, right? Moses and Elijah. And they saw them. I was thinking about how that didn't freak them out, by the way, right? They freaked out when the voice spoke. That's what wiped them out. But for some reason, they weren't particularly, enamored with the fact that Moses and Elijah are standing there talking to Jesus. Regardless, esteem is pretty obvious. We were here, others were not. But it's the power and control that's fascinating. It's where poor Peter, right? He's always getting himself in trouble. And, if you could bring him here in a time machine, I think he'd be a bit horrified of the various stories we have codified of him. But on another level, he'd go, no, I'm glad that you know these stories, because you probably have your own versions of them too, which we do. But it's when he says, let's stay here. And let's build tents. I've made this point before. That word in Greek is skene, S-K-E-N-E, series of accent symbols. And it's the same word. It's not tent like, strings and tarp and something like that. It really would represent more like a tabernacle. In fact, the Feasts of Tabernacle in the Jewish tradition, they use that same word. He's talking about codifying this. He's taking his experience of divine radiance and trying to control it. He's trying to stabilize it. He's trying to fix it in a space. And Jesus says, that's cute. We're going down the mountain. We aren't living here. And that's really important. But before they leave, he says this other bizarre thing. Tell no one about this until when? Well, that's some great mumbling. Yes. Yes, until after he'd been raised from the dead. And we know from other stories where they go, they don't know what that means either. What do you mean, raised from the dead? What is he talking about? But here's the problem, see. If the story just ended with the transfiguration, they would have a really incorrect idea of what glory is. And I've sung this at you before, right? But in Jesus Christ Superstar, when Simon the Zealot's trying to get him to just go after the Romans, and Jesus sings it to him, understand what power is. Understand what glory is. Understand it all, brother. You are not getting this message. And so Jesus says, be quiet about this radiant experience, because you don't know what it means yet. And you won't know what it means until the cross. You can't pull that apart. And they absolutely would have. And Peter was already halfway down the road when Jesus grabbed him by the neck to go, you're heading the wrong way. And we know as the story unfolds, the different ways in which they want glory. It's James and John, or depending on your story, their mom, advocating that they sit at his left and his right, that they have a place in glory. And Jesus says, okay, whatever. That's not for me to even say who sits there, Jesus says, right? But he does ask the question first, can you drink the cup that I'm going to drink? And it's the cup of suffering, right? And they sort of, to me, I'm reading into the text, are like, yeah, we can do that. And of course, Jesus says, oh, don't worry, you will. Should have scared them a little bit. Don't worry, you will. Particularly after he died, to go, oh, no, we said we would drink that. We're going to drink from this cup. But who sits there isn't for me to decide. But there's the thing. See, we're all going to suffer. That's what Jesus is really saying. We're all going to suffer. But suffering in and of itself is not going to make you or me deep. Well, it will make us deep. But will it make us deep in empathy and understanding and compassion? Or will it just make us deep in misery and resentment? Because as Richard Rohr has said so well so many times before, everything that happens in your life will make you better or bitter, entirely your choice, just one letter difference, and entirely your choice. So that which may look like suffering, because from the cross, they're mocking him, and he forgives. And so what is glory really? Glory is mercy under pressure. In the pressure moment of the cross, he's offering mercy. That is not glory as the world understands it. I shared a video last night that I ran across Scotty Hamilton. He was being interviewed by NPR, if you've seen it. If not, I highly recommend it. But and Scott spoke at our symposium that we do for high school students in the community. And his story's amazing. If you know, he's from Bowling Green originally, and he was adopted. But what he's telling the story to A. Martinez is, he asked about his gold medal, and Scott said, "I got rid of that thing as quick as I could." It was a little jarring to hear him say it that way. He spoke about it like it was something awful. It was really strong. I highly recommend. He's just like, "Oh, I got rid of that as soon as I could." And then he said, "Well, I donated it to the United States Figure Skating Association. I had donated all my medals," he says. And A. Martinez like, what? He said, "Yeah, because I've seen it before and I didn't want it to be me. I've watched people get stuck. I've watched people make their whole identity about that medal." And then he tells the story of the day after he won that gold medal in Sarajevo in 1984. They asked him to put on the whole outfit and wear his medal and come to the Paralympics banquet, which he did. And as he tells this story in this video, he gets really choked up. As he says, he walks into that room, "Look at me," and he sees all these people missing arms and legs, and some are blind, whatever. And he goes, "Who am I? What's so special about me?" Now, time out, if you know this about Scott, right, as he was adopted. He had a number of medical issues as a kid. I shared this video with many of my friends in the Philippines, and then I shared a picture of me with Scott at the symposium, in which they assume he's tall because they think all Americans are tall. And of course, Scott is 4'11", and I'm 6'3", so we look really, in fact, several are like, "I'm taller than him." Yes, you probably are. And that's the irony of Scott saying, "Who am I in this room of Paralympians to be something special?" Time out, Scott. You have your own story. But you see what I'm saying is, he sees the glory. He knows that it's mercy under pressure. And in that moment he goes, as cool as this is, the accomplishment, I don't want to be stuck to it. And so he got rid of all of it. That's really strong. It's kind of a slap in the face for us to go, what is really important? Do we really understand what glory is? Do we really understand what power is? And do we understand that in this Eucharist, glory is revealed quietly, hidden, and yet the power is fully there? And so Jesus saying to them, you don't talk about this until you have the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. You don't understand what this means, because without the lens of the cross, it's just bombast. It's just radiance. And you're going to completely get the wrong idea, and the world has. So for us in this Lenten season, to accept the challenge and to do so gently, maybe with a bit of humor, to acknowledge the times that we try to fix it or control it or slide into those energy centers of security to feel safe. As I said, we have a legitimate need for all three of those centers, by the way, right? To feel secure, to feel loved, that our lives do matter, and that we have some element of control in our life. Those are real, but they quickly can become exaggerated. And we can quickly try to stabilize it and control it and fix it. And that's what Peter was trying to do. It makes all the more powerful Jesus' prophecy to him when he said, as a young man, you went where you wanted. But there's going to come a time when someone's going to lead you by the belt, brother. And they're going to take you where you don't want to go. And the question will become, for you, Peter, and for us, the followers after him, are we really committed to this Jesus fellow? It's a daily commitment that starts each morning. His steadfast love is renewed to us each day. His mercy is poured out on us each and every day. And in this Eucharist, he's going to offer us his presence again to strengthen us to be the best possible disciple that we can be. And you know what? if we completely screw up today, if you go, oh, thanks, Father, I get it, and then you're out in the parking lot fighting each other to get out of here, cursing. I'll be honest, I was doing a little bit of it coming in here. I was running late, my own fault. But you have to laugh at it, right? It doesn't take us long to lose our center, amen? It doesn't take us long. But let's be humble and merciful to ourselves first so that we can be merciful to each other. We live in a world that doesn't even want to know that. Doesn't even want to know that or think about it as an option. But it's laid right in front of us, lovingly and gently. Sometimes it feels violently as we might get pulled back. But if we turn around, we see the face of love in our God, in the person of Jesus going, don't go down that road. It's not going to take you where you think it will. Believe me, I made the road. I know. I am the way, the truth, and the life, he says. So as we prepare to receive him in this Eucharist, a gift we have not deserved, do not deserve, and never will, let that radiance of glory fill every fiber of our cells so that we might more faithfully follow him on the way. May God be praised.